make sure that Scott, do you have slides?
You're good to go.
Yeah,
Live.
yep. I'm going to do some slides today, and I'm not going to do my video just because it seems like my internet's being a little slow this morning.
Okay.
And I don't want to take up
bandwidth
with the, yep.
Okay, first slide, and then I'll just do a little intro here.
Yep.
So,
And I'm going to be super informal and run it just like this. I'm not even going to do full screen.
Cool.
I would ask you to do full screen because you got to realize people are watching this on Facebook, so it'd be helpful to make it as big as possible.
All righty, I will make that happen. La 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 la. Get all of my things out of the way.
and we are.
Yep.
Always fun to see who's on a Mac and on a PC.
Yeah. How is that? Can you see it all?
It's the same. I think you just got to hit play up to the top there by Keynote Live and hit play. And it'll
Yep. All righty. Is that better?
That's perfect. Thank you.
You got it.
Okay, so lucky me, I get to introduce, there she is. I get to introduce Laura Posey. I heard about from Juliet, but as we're sharing MC duties, I said, oh goody, I'd like to do this one. So Laura Posey, who is an internationally recognized speaker, author, and consultant. She's known as the simple planning specialist for her unique ability to simply laser focus her clients to get dramatic results. I always need that kind of thing, so I'm looking forward to this. Her simple strategic plan is used by over 2,500 companies from startups to Fortune 100s. She's the author of How to Plan Your Entire Year on One Sheet of Paper and co-author with Jack Canfield of Mastering the Art of Success. She's a graduate of SUNY Buffalo and holds an MBA from Virginia Commonwealth University, fluent in German, and is currently working on her Spanish. And when is not on stage or with a client, you can find her traveling the world. It says that she snuggled rescue Mutt George in Richmond, Virginia, but now she's in Australia. So maybe snuggling with wallabies over there. So Laura Posey, take it away.
Thanks for having me. So I am a trainer from way back, and I'm a super visual person. So I brought slides because it helps me. When I'm watching something, it helps me if there are slides. And if anybody wants a copy of the deck, just shoot me an email and I'm happy to give you a copy of the deck so you don't have to take notes. There's nothing, super secret here. So I'm going to dive in because I have like a ridiculous amount of content as usual. I want to deliver as much as I possibly can in the time that we have together. So let's talk about how April 2020 looks a lot different than January 2020 did, right? I know a lot of us came into this year super excited. We're like, oh my gosh, it's 2020. How did this happen? It's the start of a new year. It's the start of a new decade. We had plans. We were all going to set the world on fire. This was going to be the year that everything was better. And yeah, welcome to April. And it looks a lot different. I think a lot of us are feeling a lot different than we did in January 2020. So we are living around here, and with all of our clients, we are living by a motto: change your tactics, not your goals. So all of our clients do a one-page strategic plan with us each year. And I'm going to show you guys today how to do as much of that as humanly possible. And, so when all of this stuff hit, we got on the phone with all of our clients and they're like, oh my gosh, I got to change my goals. We're like, no, your goals stay the same. You're still going to hit your goals. We got to figure out different ways to get there, but you're still going to hit your goals this year. So I want you to just mentally lock this in. Change your tactics, not your goals. All right. I want you to imagine that even in the midst of all of this, that you can go to work every day and be excited and motivated, that you can sit at your desk knowing exactly what you want to do and exactly what to work on today to make the biggest impact on your bank account. and that you're feeling focused and confident about your work. No matter what is going on in the outside world, no matter what has happened to your existing client base, I want you to imagine being able to do this. And I want you to be able to imagine setting and achieving those goals consistently and predictably. And that's what I wanted to work on with you today. We don't have time to workshop stuff today, but I want to give you all the pieces, parts, so that you can go and do it on your own. So I get the question, we're going to talk about planning, right? And people are like, oh, really? Planning? Like, everything's chaotic now. Why do I need to plan? So here's the thing. Planning is going to make you, and I'm going to show you a little bit how to prioritize your most important tasks, because you need to eliminate all the wasted stuff. Particularly now, every minute of your time's got to be focused on things that are actually going to work, and work in the new world, not in the old world. Your plan is going to keep you focused and motivated every day. And the motivation piece is huge right now. I know a lot of people are feeling really crappy about where things are, and it's hard to get excited and motivated when you look at the news and everything is bad. The biggest thing that I love about a good plan is it's going to get rid of your worry and your fear about the future. Once you put that plan down on paper, then your whole job is just focus on getting the plan done. You don't have to get up every day and guess. And ultimately, your plan is going to help you create the consistent business of your dreams. Now, I've been doing this for over 15 years, and I can tell you 3 things that I've figured out. One is that planning doesn't have to be hard. Oops, lost my clicker there. You can do your whole plan in a few hours every year. Our clients, the first year they go through a 1-page planning process. It takes about 3 or 4 hours just because they're learning the process. And then it takes about 30 minutes every quarter. Once you understand how to do the planning, your planning honestly takes about an hour at the end of the year for the beginning of the next year, and still about 20 or 30 minutes a quarter. That's all you need. And here's the thing, if you've got the right plan, your biggest goals and dreams are going to happen so much faster and easier than you ever imagined. And I have used this plan. I've used it personally for about 15 years. I've used it with clients through every conceivable issue. Like, this is not my first rodeo. This pandemic is my 3rd big major event. The first one was 9/11 happened 6 months after I started my business, and every piece of business I had in that 6 months dried up and disappeared. I've been through 2008 and the financial crisis. I went through the death of a partner where I pretty much stopped working for a year to take care of her. And then I didn't work for another 4 or 5 months. But because I had that plan in place, my team was able to continually just to run everything while I was off. I'm telling you, the planning just takes the load off of everything. And one of the things that I've discovered over all this time, I've been in business now 19 years, and I've discovered that there are 2 kinds of business owners, and I've seen this over and over and over and over and over again. And the first kind I've seen is what we call the guesser. And you guys know the guesser, right? That's the person gets up every day and is like, oh, what am I going to do today? How am I going to grow my business? What new cool thing is out there? Oh, chatbots. I should learn about chatbots because that's going to help me grow. Or, oh, I should do this or I should do that. I'm going to take every online course I've ever seen. And they're winging it. And this honestly is kind of what their growth path looks like. The other kind of business owner that we see is what we call the knower. And the knower is the person that's got a plan. They know where they want to go, and they've mapped out for this next year how they're going to get there. And no matter what comes along, they're committed to achieving those goals, and they find ways to get there. So I just want to share with you what happens with knowers. So this is just in the last 7 days. I just did this slide this morning. And these are real life clients who started out in January 2020 with a really solid plan for how they wanted to get things done. And in the last 7 days, they have pivoted and created essentially new businesses and updated the tactics in their plans, and they are all still on track for hitting their 2020 goals. So Virginia does in-person consulting. Now, 2 things to understand about Virginia's business is that she works in sustainability, environmental sustainability, and 100% of her clients are in Italy. So when COVID-19 hit Italy, her business stopped, zero, everything out. Now she's got 2 small kids. So in the last 7 days, she has pivoted her business around. She's taken her old clients, put them into an online mastermind. She's had 10 new clients in the last 7 days, and she's humming along. Carol owned an office supplies business. Well, guess what? Everybody's working from home. There's no offices to send supplies to. So her business dried up. And her business is pretty big. She's 2 to 3 million. So she was like, okay, what else can I deliver? What do people need? So she started sourcing PPE and has figured out where to get that, and now has a whole bunch of new healthcare clients that she's going to also then be delivering office supplies to when the world comes back online. And then Stephanie has an employees communications company, and she's been doing lots of soft skills training, and her clients were like, crap, we don't need that right now. So her business all dried up, and she said, you know what? I'm actually pretty good at this working remotely thing. I'm going to develop some new courses around working from home. So she went out to her existing clients and says, hey, you want to do this training on work from home strategies? And she's gotten 3 new client gigs in the last 7 days. So I tell you all of this to say that you can pivot, you can change, you can take your plan and update the tactics, but still keep the goals and continue to hit the goals that you wanted to for this year. So I want to share with you sort of what I think of as the easy way to become a knower. And we're going to do 3 secrets. We're going to talk about how you can't achieve your goals by breaking them into smaller bites, and that you need to ask 3 questions instead, and what those 3 questions are. I'm going to show you 5 simple steps to build your dream business. And assuming that we have time and I talk fast enough, I'm going to show you how your brain is wired to mess you up and how you can fix it. Entrepreneurs are a whacked out breed psychologically, but I'm going to show you how to make it actually work for you. So let's dive in. Let's talk about how you can't achieve your goals by breaking them into smaller bites. Knowing what you want and getting there all starts with, your planning all starts with knowing what you want to achieve, which are your goals, and then putting a system in place to ensure that you achieve it. And that's the planning piece. So here's what happens with most business owners. We've been taught so many wrong things about how goals actually work. So as a result, a lot of us set goals and then we end up missing them. I'm going to pop over here and I'm going to pull up the chat window. So if any of this stuff rings true to you as I'm going through here, drop me a little note in the chat window and go, oh yeah, I know all about that missing goals stuff. So tell me if this sounds familiar to you. You start out the year with big, huge goals. 2020, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to double my business. I'm going to do all these amazing things. And you're stoked, man, because this is your year. So you do what you've been taught to do. You take your big goal and you divide it by 50 weeks, assuming you're going to take a couple weeks of vacation. So you get your weekly goal, right? Now you know, what do I have to achieve every single week to be on target? And then you like, oh man, I got to double my business. Okay, so I'm going to work harder. I'm going to send more emails. I'm going to spend more time on LinkedIn. I'm going to start a Facebook group. I'm going to get those chat bots going, right? I'm going to do all these things. And then guess what? Something happens, right? Something gets in the way. Something like, I don't know, maybe a global pandemic, right? But something happens. It could just be your kid gets sick and has to stay home from school, or the car breaks down, or your internet goes down. There's lots of stuff that can happen, right? But when something gets in the way, you get behind on your goals, right? You don't achieve that weekly goal. Maybe you miss it for a couple of weeks in a row. So you do the only thing that you can do, the only rational thing that human beings can do. You lower your goals, right? So instead of doubling your business, you're like, well, maybe I'll grow by 50% this year. Well, guess what? Then something else gets in the way. And you know what? When we come out of this pandemic and people are back to work, something else is going to happen. And so guess what? You end up lowering your goals again. And so by the time the year ends, you've lowered your goals practically to barely above last year, and you end up feeling like a failure. And you end up not making much more money than you did last year. So this is kind of what it looks like in a graph form, right? So you've got this potential. You've got this number that you really, really want to hit. But at the end of the year, you end up just growing a little bit. And so in between this potential and this actual is all this lost money. Now, here's the thing about that potential. I know you have it because you know you have it. You wouldn't set those big goals if there wasn't some voice inside you that said, you know what, I can do this. I can double my business. I can triple my business. I can serve more people. I can change the world in a bigger way. And so what I want to do is show you the questions that we have to ask to change this planning model and pick up that lost money in between. So here's the deal. The problem isn't you. The problem is that you've been taught the wrong way to achieve your goals. That breaking stuff down into little pieces does not work. Because here's the thing. When you just take a big number and you chop it into smaller numbers, it doesn't address the why you want to achieve those big goals. And if you don't have a clear, strong driving why, your brain will give up on those big goals because it doesn't have any motivation to work harder. There's no why that's driving it, right? You know, Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, is all about motivation. And so the other piece that comes into play is that breaking goals into smaller pieces doesn't address how you're going to hit those new goals, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to make up some numbers here. I'm going to make $200,000 this year. So if I chunk that down, and I made 100 last year, so instead of $2,000 a week, I got to make $4,000 a week. Well, there's nothing in that $4,000 a week goal that says how I'm going to go from 2 to 4,000. It's just the number changed. And so here's what happens. As a result, your brain gets confused and overwhelmed because it doesn't know. You haven't told it what to do. You haven't given it any steps. You haven't given it any how. And what happens when your brain gets confused and overwhelmed is that it shuts down and it reverts back to what it knows, which is last year's work habits. It goes back to, what have I done in the past that has worked, that can make me feel successful, that can give me a little hit of dopamine. And that is all it does. And guess what? If it doesn't find anything in the work world that makes it feel good, that makes it feel less confused and less overwhelmed, guess what it does? It goes to places like Facebook, right? It gets you distracted. It makes you procrastinate. It makes you go off and do all sorts of things that aren't work related. And so we've got to figure out how to fix this, right? We've got to find a why because we need the motivation, and we got to find a how so that we can get rid of the overwhelm and the confusion. And so when we address the why and how, we can make those big goals happen, and we can tap into the stuff that's already built into your brain. So here's the right way to do planning. It's not breaking things down into little teeny pieces. It's starting with that vision. What is it that you really want to create? What is your biggest, baddest, most beautiful picture in your mind of the life that you want to lead and the business that can get you there? That's your driving why, right? This why am I building something? Then from there, we can take that, and your vision is usually something that's maybe 5 or 10 years out. From there, we can start shortening the time frame, right? So we can say, okay, well, if I'm going to be at this place in 5 years, where do I want to be in 3 years? And then ultimately, where do I want to be in 1 year? And you notice we use 3-year targets and 1-year goals. So the difference here between targets and goals is a target is 3 years out. It's something that we're aiming for. But because it's 3 years out, I mean, it's really hard to plant a flag and make a commitment for where I'm going to be in 3 years, because a lot can change, as we've seen in the last month, right? But 1-year goals, for us, a goal is a commitment, right? When I set a goal, it's like, this is what I'm going to achieve. Now, we have our vision, we have our 3-year targets, we have our 1-year goals, and we do not break things into smaller pieces than 1-year goals. Instead, what we do is we ask 3 questions. And the first question is, what do I have to change in the next year to achieve my goals? Now, for those of you that already have your goals set for this year, you may, and we're already in April, you may not say, what do I need to change in the next year? But what do I need to change in the next 6 months to achieve my goals? And then once we understand what we need to change, because there's lots of things you could change. Maybe you need to change the products that you're offering. Maybe you need to change the market that you're working with. Maybe you need to change from in-person to virtual. Maybe what you need to change is you need to actually add some staff. Maybe you need to add some people whose time you can sell. But once we know what that change is, then we can take that change and break it down into projects and ask ourselves, what projects have to be completed to complete the change, right? So if one of my changes is I need to add a new product, or let's say I'm going to go from in-person to virtual. So now that I know what I need to change, I can say, okay, what are the projects that have to be completed there, right? Maybe I need to take my live training and convert it into an online course. So I need to create an online course version of my live training. That could be a project. Maybe I need to create a sales funnel and write some emails to be able to sell my online course, right? That's a project. And the cool thing about projects is they lead us to our third question, which is what tasks have to be done to complete the project, right? So if my project is to create this online course from my existing material, right? Maybe one of my tasks is I need to write an outline for the course. Maybe one of my tasks is I need to prepare the slides for the first lesson in the course. And one of my tasks then would be to record the slides. And another task would be to edit or to record the slides and then to edit the recording. And then maybe one of my tasks is to choose the online software that I'm going to use, right? And so you can see that once we know what the change is, then we can understand the project, and then we can take it down to the task level. And that's the power of simple planning, is that it connects your goals to your why, which is your vision. And then it breaks the how into easy to achieve pieces, because the how just becomes projects and tasks. And once you've got a really clear task laid down, your brain just looks at it and goes, oh, hell yeah, I can do that. And what's great about that is that when your brain sees a task that it knows that it can accomplish, you actually get a little hit of dopamine, which is a super yummy chemical that your body is completely and totally addicted to. And so when you have this task list that's a good task list, your brain actually lights up and it wants to get those things done. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to check that off. I'm going to check that off. And I'm going to check that off. And so you're super motivated and excited to get these changes done. And when you get the changes done, your goals get accomplished. So does that make sense? Anybody have any questions or feedback or anything they want to ping me on there?
Totally makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense stuff there. Good stuff.
Awesome. Thanks. All right. So let's get into secret number 2. And I know I'm covering things kind of fast, but like I said, I'm happy to give you the slides if that'll help you. Oh, Julianne says, isn't it still breaking it down into parts? It's breaking it into the changes that are needed to create. But it's not just taking a big goal and breaking it into what essentially are smaller goals. And that's where we fall apart a lot of times is I mean, every sales training, everything I've ever been in, they're like, oh, take your annual goal and divide it into weekly goals. So you know how much you have to accomplish. And it's like, well, okay, well, that's great. So I need to make $4,000 this week, but my brain is still screaming, how? So yeah, it's breaking it down into parts, but it's accomplishable parts, not just smaller pieces. So I hope that clarifies that, Julianne. All right, so let's dig into building your dream business is just 5 simple steps. So I want you to imagine for a second here that you were going to build your dream house, not your dream business, but your dream house. So what would you do? Well, you'd do a 5-step process. You'd start out with a picture in your mind of what you want, right? What kind of house do I want? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? Is it contemporary? Is it traditional? Is it 1-story? Is it 2-story? Does it have a pool? Right? You'd start with this picture of this place that you really wanted to live. And then from there, you'd work with an architect and you would draw out in detail what it is that you really want to build. So you take what's in your mind and get it on paper. And then your third step is that you take those pictures and you turn them into blueprints. And blueprints are just sort of the technical drawings, the details of what needs to be done in order to build this house. And then from the blueprints, you create what's called a punch list. And it's the list of what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and who's going to do it. So, if we're building a house, obviously we're going to need to pour a foundation before we can put up some walls. And we're going to need some walls before we can put on a roof. And we're going to want to put all of the plumbing and the electrical in before we start drywalling this thing. And so your punch list is nitty gritty detail of all the little things that have to be done, which one's going to be done when, and who's going to do them. Is the concrete guy going to do it? Is the electrician going to do it? Is the plumber going to do it? And when all of this is done, when this punch list is done, then it's a matter of just working through the punch list step by step. Or in the case of building a house, you usually hire people to do it for you. Like the guy that lives next door to me in Richmond just did $1 million renovation on his house. And I can tell you that because I lived next door to it for 1.5 years, the vast majority of people that set foot on that property to do that work were minimum wage or close to minimum wage workers. And they were able to work together to build $1 million house because they had this process, because they had this punch list done. So how do we take this process and use it to build your dream business? Well, we start out with step one, but we add one little piece to it. So before we start daydreaming about the kind of business you want, we want to start with a picture in your mind of what you want your ideal life to be, right? Do you want to have an office? Do you want to have people? Do you want to be a digital nomad? Like I'm super fortunate. I'm in Australia for I don't even know how long, until the airports clean up a little bit. So, I mean, I've been here 3 weeks. I'm probably going to be here at least another month. Wasn't planning on that, but you know what? Have laptop can work. So you got to figure out how much time and money freedom do you really want? How much money is it going to take to fund all the things that you want? And we actually walk through an 8-step life vision to make sure that you're looking at all of the different places that you want time and money freedom and how much you're going to need for all of that. Once you know your ideal life, then you can design the business to deliver it. So you can start daydreaming and start thinking about the picture in your mind of the kind of business that you want, right? You want to be able to picture yourself, sitting on a beach someplace, on a call with a client, or, like I have a good friend of mine who works, I'm trying to remember the pattern, but I think he works 11 weeks and then he takes 3 weeks off, and then he works 11 weeks and then he takes 3 weeks off, and then he works 11 weeks and then he takes the rest of the year off. And that's his pattern, and that, that's his life design. He's built a business that works around that. So again, we start with this picture in your mind of what you want. Then we write out in detail what it is that you really want to build. That's the vision piece. From there, we build the blueprint, which is in business speak is a strategic plan. And so in your strategic plan, what you want to build, and this is what goes on that one sheet of paper, is you want to write down that business vision that you have, right? What is it that you want to build? You want to include your core values. And your core values are sort of the boundaries or the guidelines or the commandments, if you will, for how people are going to behave in your business and how you're going to make decisions. So, for example, one of our core values is got your back. And for us, what that means is internally, like, I'm working on weird times. I'm 14 hours ahead of my team back in North America. And so we're working in opposite times. And what that means is that if there's something that I can't get to, they just say, got your back. And that means they're going to pick it up and take care of it. This morning I got up and I saw a note from my assistant. She's got some issues with her kid. No problem. I text back, got your back. And she knows it's handled. She didn't have to think about it. It's the same thing with our clients. Like we tell them all the time, I've got your back. And what that means is I'm going to do whatever it takes to get you results. So it's an example of a value that guides our decision-making and our behavior on a daily basis. Next on that page, you want to put down those 3-year targets that we looked at. We typically limit our clients to 4 targets. We've just found that any more than that, it gets to be too scattered. You don't have to have 4, you can have fewer than 4, but that seems to be about the magic number. And like I said, I've been doing this for, 15 years. And interestingly enough, that 4 number works with our startups. My largest client is a $27 billion company. And guess what? They have 4 targets as well for the whole $27 billion organization. They have 4 targets. Then their different business units have sort of sub targets within that. You're going to put down your 1-year goals. Same thing. We do 4 goals for a year. No more. You can have fewer, but absolutely no more than 4. That, again, seems to be really the magic number. Then we look at what we call metrics, and metrics are probably the easiest way to explain them are what are the things that we need in the activities that we measure on a weekly basis to make sure that we're doing the day in and day out things in our business that are going to get us to our goals. So the metrics are sort of all of the stuff that we've been doing that's really working. So it could be, the types, it could be prospecting. It could be, we need to send a certain number of emails every week, or we need to talk to a certain number of people on LinkedIn, or it could be, I'm trying to think of another good metric that's not just a sales metric, or, maybe it's we need to talk to 3 different prospects every week about speaking engagements. So those are the metrics, the things that we need to measure on a weekly basis that are activity-based, that are our day-to-day bread and butter business building activities. And then we like to add in what we call mantras, and you can have one mantra for the year. You can have a couple mantras that extend over the year. You can change them every quarter. It's kind of whatever works for you. So our mantras this year are, we're all in and willing to do whatever it takes to make every day count. So it's sort of 3 that we've tied together. But we just decided in 2020, we're all in, like whatever it takes to make this year the most successful year ever, we're committed to doing it. And it's been really super fun already. Couple challenges, of course, but it's just a blast. And then the last thing that goes on this one piece of paper are the projects. Now, the projects are all the changes, all the new stuff that you're adding to your business. And the projects are aligned with the goals. One of the things that, one of the rules that we have is no more than 4 projects per quarter. And we actually have a little project planner that we use with folks on that one sheet of paper, so that you can make sure that you're not trying to start all of your projects all at once, because that is an absolute recipe for failure. We want you to be thoughtful about your projects and really decide, okay, which ones need to get done at which time and in which order for the biggest impact, and to align them with what's going on in your year. So for example, we mapped out all of our stuff this year, and because of the things that are happening with COVID-19, and a lot of our in-person things got shifted to virtual, which actually freed up a lot of time because I'm not sitting on airplanes a lot. We ended up with more time in Q2 than we thought we were going to. So what we did was we didn't have 4 projects for Q2 laid out. So we just went ahead to Q3 and grabbed some projects from Q3 and pulled them ahead into Q2. And then there was one project in Q2 that we actually punted out to Q3 because of the timing with the virus and stuff. So this is what goes into your blueprint or your strategic plan, and it all fits on a single sheet of paper. Now, step 4 again is to create a punch list. Well, a punch list in business speak is just a task list. So what we do is what needs to be done, when does it need to be done, and who needs to do it. And so for the task list, we only do these a quarter at a time. So we're sitting here in Q2, so we go pull Q2's project list, and we break each of those projects down into little 30-minute tasks. And we map them out on a little spreadsheet so that we can visually see which project or which tasks are getting done in which week, so that we're not overloading any one week. Who's going to do them, so we're not, and we look to make sure we're not overloading any one person. And it's an easy little spreadsheet to do that. Because remember, these projects are all things that you're not already doing. Like, you're already running a business, you're already doing some stuff. This is new stuff, this is change. And so we have to make sure that you're not being overloaded or overwhelmed with change. And then step 5 is you get it done. So you either sit down and go, okay, here's all the tasks that I got to get done this week, or you can hire people to do it for you. And what's really cool is that when you have this level of detail, and I promise you, it takes like 30 minutes a quarter. Once you've got your annual plan done, it takes like 30 minutes a quarter to get it done. Then it's so easy to hire people, because you can just look at your tasks and go, oh, this is all the stuff that needs to be done, and here's all the crap that I don't want to do, right? Or all the crap that I'm not good at doing. And so you know exactly who to hire and what to have them do for you. So if you want to hire a virtual assistant, or somebody just for a project, or to just go out on Fiverr and get something done, now you know exactly what to do and you can prepare for it. And so we say, it's really, at that point, it's focusing on winning the day. What are the tasks that I need to get done today to drive my business forward? And they're very clear. They come directly from this plan. Because here's the thing. Sorry, I got to take a breath and some water. If you do the right things today, you're going to win the day. And when you win the days, you win the weeks. And when you win the weeks, you win the months. Excuse me. When you win the months, you win the quarters. When you win the quarters, you win the years. And when you win the years, you win your life. And it's that simple. Sorry. Oh, man. Keep drinking some more water. So here's a quick summary. Create your life vision, then create your business vision. Draw them up in a strategic plan. Decide on your tasks, and then win the day. That's how it comes together. All right, quick check-in. How do you feel about your one-page plan? Does it feel like, oh, I could totally do that?
Heck yeah.
Right? Like, it's just not that hard, right? It's like, oh, it's just like building a house, and people build houses all the time. Julianne said, can I repeat the summary? Sure. Life vision, business vision, strategic plan, tasks, and then get it done, win the day. Excuse me. All right, so let's talk about your messed up entrepreneurial brain and how to fix it. So here's your entrepreneurial brain. It's absolutely gorgeous. The problem is that it's really good at starting a business and really crappy at running a business. And there's sort of three things that come into play. And I want to talk about each one of those three things quickly and show you how to kind of fix them. So the first thing is that your brain is opportunity seeking. Now, one thing to recognize is that opportunity seekers are only about 15% of the population. Everybody else is what we call a consequence avoider, which means that they look at things and they say, what do I have to do to just stay where I am, to just maintain? They're very risk avoidant. You, on the other hand, as an opportunity seeker, you like to chase things that look good. Anybody remember the movie Up? And this lovely dog, Doug, who is in the middle of a deep conversation and then whips his head around and goes, squirrel, right? That's what entrepreneurial brains are like. You see opportunity everywhere and you're excited and willing to chase it. We also like to call it bright, shiny object syndrome. And almost every entrepreneur I know suffers from it terribly. It's what's the new next thing that gets you excited? There's a whole psychological and chemical reason for it. We're not going to dig into that. But some of you may look at this and go, oh yeah, I got that. I got bright, shiny object syndrome really bad. Yeah, most of us do. And so the challenge is that it leads to you starting a lot of things, but not finishing them. So you probably have a lot of half-finished stuff. You get really excited, but with all these cool things like, oh, I'm going to take this online course and never finish it. Oh, I'm going to learn and not do that, right? The other thing with bright, shiny object syndrome is that it leads to confusion about what to do next because your brain is always restarting. It's always in the beginning exciting mode. And oftentimes you got 4 or 5 different things going on. Your brain, you sit down to do something, your brain is like, hey, there's so many options. I don't know what to do next. And so ultimately you end up wasting a lot of time and money by this starting and not finishing and by sitting there and constantly looking at your to-do list and going, okay, which one should I do next? Which one should I do next? Which one should I do next? All right, so that's opportunity seeking. Here's the next thing. You're very risk tolerant. Now, that's great, right? So starting a business, you need to be an opportunity seeker, right? Because you got to look at the world and go, I could build a better mousetrap. I could do that differently. I could have a better life. I could earn more money, right? And you have to be risk tolerant. You have to be willing to jump off the corporate bridge. You have to be willing to take a chance on things and to see the possibilities in a choice, right? You can always see the winning side of the hand. The problem is that because we're so risk tolerant, oftentimes we underestimate the downside of things. We're really good at seeing the possibilities and not so good at seeing the risk. So what this leads to is you take on risky projects, right? Instead of looking at something and going, okay, I can see exactly how I'm going to make money with this. You go, wow, that sounds kind of good. Yeah, chatbots. I'm going to go spend a couple $1,000s setting those up because, you know, like Facebook's a thing and people said it's good. So I'm just going to go do chatbots, right? It also leads to, and this was a big one for me, hiring the wrong people because you see the potential in everybody, right? And you're like, oh, I'll give them a chance. I'll help them. And it's like, no, you need to hire the people who can actually do the job, not the people that just have potential. You can't fall in love with people's potential. You have to fall in love with their reality. And then again, this leads to tons of wasted time and money because here you are, you're starting a lot of things and you're not finishing them. And a lot of the stuff that you start isn't proven. It's risky. A lot of the people that you're bringing on to do stuff aren't people that you know can do the work. So we're back to wasting time and money. And then the last thing is what we call learner syndrome, right? You started this business because you wanted something different. You wanted something bigger, you wanted something better, and you wanted to be on your own path. A lot of entrepreneurs don't do so good at working for other people, right? I've been doing this for 19 years. I am completely unemployable. I could not go back and get a job and go to work every day and sit in a box for any amount of money, right? So, and you probably are like that too, right? You're on your own path. And you want to create something unique that's a reflection of you. The problem is that most of the people that you know aren't entrepreneurs and they don't understand. You might even have some of them living in your house and sharing your bed, right? Non-entrepreneurs just don't get it. They're like, why don't you go get a job? Why are you taking all this risk? That seems so scary. And so the problem is you're probably hanging out with a lot of people that don't get you. And so you end up feeling isolated. And particularly now where everybody's working from home, whether you want to or not, that isolation is increasing. And so when you start to feel isolated and you start to feel misunderstood, a lot of times you start to feel like, you know, should I really be doing this? You start to feel a lack of motivation. And then sometimes you end up questioning your judgment. Like, really, am I cut out for this? Can I do this? Right? Am I just, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe because it isn't successful right now, maybe I'm broken in some way. And here's the thing. Planning will fix absolutely all of those issues. It'll fix your opportunity seeking, it will fix your risk tolerance, and it will fix your loner syndrome. Because when you put a plan in place, it separates the important from the unimportant. So you end up with priorities. So that confusion that happens disappears. Planning forces you to write down steps to follow so that you're making progress. And if you're making progress every day, the motivation just happens. It'll get rid of your bright, shiny object syndrome because it's going to make you focus, right? When you're forced to put those priorities down and you're forced to lay out the steps, you have amazing focus. And I'll tell you, when you have to put it on a single sheet of paper, it will really force you to choose between the really good stuff and the kind of okay stuff. So what ends up happening is you end up being confident, you end up being motivated, and it keeps you on track every day. And ultimately, you're getting results from your work every single day. And that's the stuff that's so cool, because it doesn't matter how off track you are, how out of sorts you are, having that simple strategic plan can get you focused and moving forward and achieving your goals and dreams. So, quick recap. We talked about how breaking down your goals doesn't work. You need to ask your 3 questions. What do I have to change in my business to achieve my goals? What projects have to get done to create the change? And what tasks have to get done to complete the projects? Then we talked about building your dream business is 5 steps. Create your life vision, create your business vision, draw up your strategic plan, decide on your tasks, and then get to doing it and win the day. And then finally, we talked about how your brain is messing you up, that the things that got you started in business are holding you back. Your opportunity seeking, your risk tolerance, and your loner syndrome are hurting your business, but having a simple plan will cure all of that. So I like to think that you came here today for a reason. There was something that brought you here that said, I need something different. I need to change. I need to see the world in a different way. And so you've got to make a choice. And do you want to continue to be the guesser? Do you want to follow this path, or do you want to move into being a knower? And your old habits, the things that got you here, are not going to get you where you want to go. They're going to keep you from achieving your potential. And so I'm going to ask you if you are willing to commit to a new way of doing things, and that's doing things with a plan. And if you are, if you're willing to commit, I'm here to help you. I want to invite you to join our Simple Strategic Plan. It's an online course, but you can have it done in under 3 hours. I hate courses that are 40 hours long, because I can't complete them, and I don't think anybody else can either. So this will take you a little under 3 hours, and your plan will be absolutely, fully, completely done. This is a link. I guess Scott will put it in the chat window for us. It's our website, simplesuccessplans.com/strategic. And all the details are in there. There's lots of bonuses and all kinds of cool stuff. This is all the stuff that we walk you through. So you go through the 8-step life vision plan, the 6-step business vision plan, your 5 perfect core values, your 3-year targets and 1-year goals, your metrics, your mantras, and your quarterly project plan. It's all designed in there. It's all laid out. So you do it step by step. There's workbooks and templates and all that good stuff in there. And ultimately you get down to a daily task plan, because I want you to get to a place where you're using a daily success checklist to stay on track. We'll talk about your dominant learning styles and how to overcome your obstacles, so that you get focused, you get clear, and you get confident. This is what the plan looks like when it's all done. This is what the daily success checklist looks like when it's completed. And it's my favorite tool on the planet, because it does create focus, it creates confidence, and it creates daily success. It's a tool I've been using for years. I use it with every single one of my clients, and it just flat out gets results. So my commitment to you is that if you sign up, I'll give you 100. I've got your back. I will make sure that you get it completed. I want to see a picture of you with your plan. And we do whatever it takes. We have automated follow-up to poke you if you forget. I will email you personally. And if it comes to it, I will pick up the phone and call you and go, hey man, what's your deal? Why aren't you finishing your plan? All right, let's just get it knocked out right now. I'm just sit here and wait while you do it. We absolutely guarantee 100% completion. So I left a minute and a half, not 30 seconds for questions. How about that? Sorry, there's a lot of content today. What can I help you with?
You got 10 minutes, actually, I think. If I'm correct?
Oh, sweet. I don't know. I've lost track of time. I don't even know what time zone I'm in anymore.
You're good till, yeah, you got 10 more minutes, actually. 10 more minutes for questions from people out there, everybody. So
awesome. This is what happens when you let me have 3 hours of sleep.
I do the same thing.
Yes. So what can I help you with? Questions I can answer to help you move forward with any and all of the planning stuff. I can go back to any of the slides. What do you need?
So I'll throw something out there, kind of prime the pump. When people have different projects they want to accomplish, what's the best way for people to rank those projects for completion or success, Laura, that you see from your successful students?
Yeah, so there's 2 things to think about with projects, right? So there's projects that are closest to cash, and then there are projects which are going to make the biggest impact. And so I like to look at those 2 things and give each one of them a weight between 1 and 5. And I like to, and you sort of have to look at your current situation. So if cash now is a huge concern, you want to give more weight to the closest to cash projects. You're going to move them up the stack. If your current cash is good, then you're going to want to put your bigger impact projects in there first, because a lot of times the bigger impact projects take a little bit longer, right? They're often bigger. They've got more tasks. Sometimes they take more people. So if your cash position is okay, I would put the bigger impact projects first.
Awesome. Heather asked a question.
Yeah.
Heather, Elizabeth first said, Laura, this was amazing. Heather says, I'd love to hear your normal reply to those who say, I've tried so many ways to get projects done efficiently and daily agendas that work and haven't found it yet.
Yep.
How can yours break the spell?
Yeah. So here's the secret, the magic, right? So the reason that projects don't get done is because people don't make the tasks small enough and clear enough. I wrote an article about this called the procrastination matrix, the procrastination cure. And we have a tool called the procrastination matrix. If you just Google it, it's on our blog, you can find it. Because I don't have the link handy, sorry. And so here's what happens when your brain looks at a task. It thinks a couple of things. It either looks at the task and goes, oh, hell yeah, I can get that done, right? And if it has that feeling, a little shot of dopamine gets released into your bloodstream. And dopamine is that yummy chemical that you get when something is new and exciting or when something gets completed. And so your brain looks at it and goes, yeah, that looks like fun. I'm going to get that done. And then I'm going to check it off and I'm going to feel great. So it dives in and starts doing it. But the vast majority of tasks that people write down are way too vague and way too long. So if your brain looks at it and the task says, research online course software, your brain goes, I don't really know how to do that. Like, I don't know where to start. I don't know what my next immediate step is. And so it goes, well, I don't want to do that. What else do I have? And it'll sort through your whole task list until it either finds something small and stupid that it can get done, or it'll go, yeah, I don't have time for any of this today. Oh, hello, Facebook. How are you? Right? And so what you have to do is you have to take that task and make it something that's super small and totally doable. So the first step might be so instead of research online course software, right? The first step might be decide on a monthly budget for online course software. And so your brain looks at that and goes, oh shit, man, I can do that in 5 minutes. $97, done, win, dopamine, I'm happy. And then the next, another step might be Google, in quotes, online course software. And then the next task might be write down the 3 top results. And it sounds stupid, right? Like, really, I got to break it down that small? Oh, hell yeah. For your brain to really want to do it, it's got to be small. So our rules for tasks are they always have to start with a verb and a clear verb. Research is not a verb. Google is a verb, right? Your brain has to get a picture of what you want it to do. And it can picture Googling. It cannot picture researching. The second thing is that tasks have to be completed in under 30 minutes. Your brain has to be able to look at it and think, oh yeah, I've got time to do that now. And most people have 30 minutes to get something done. And so, and we've got there's a whole module on tasks and how to do tasks right. But if you remember those 2 things, has to start with a verb, has to be completed in under 30 minutes. You'll find that when you have a task list full of that stuff, and that when those tasks are all attached to that big why, like your brain understands, I'm Googling this online software because I'm going to create this course and I'm going to sell a bunch of stuff and I'm going to be able to sit on the beach in Bali while money comes rolling into my account. And so it's understanding that psychology that is what gets it done. Most people come at it the wrong way. They come at it from a tools standpoint. I don't give a crap what tool you use, right? Like, use Asana, use Trello, use Basecamp, use Google Sheets, use a piece of paper, use index cards. None of that matters when you have the psychology down.
So basically the mind can absorb what the asses can withstand in 30 minutes, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but it's honestly, it's all about neurochemicals. It's all about dopamine. We are all dopamine junkies. We are addicts. And it's bad and it's getting worse. So you can either go, oh, I'm going to fight that, which isn't going to work. Or you can just go, okay, how do I use this to my advantage? How do I create a task list that my brain wants to do? Essentially, you were sort of gamifying your task list. And when we do that, your brain is like, count me in.
Tricking the brain. But that's the thing, is that I think people work best in spurts like that. And it's just a good way to get spurts done and get that momentum flowing versus trying to wrestle the bull to the ground and all at the same time and focused on it that way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good stuff. Who else has questions, everybody out there? Who's got a question? Who's struggling right now with a variety of things that they'd like to ask Laura with? Come on, don't be shy, everybody. Let's see here. What else? We missed something. Liv said, Laura, this was amazing. Heather says, thank you for this excellent and entertaining answer. Good stuff. Let's see here. Wonderful presentation, positivity and value. Good stuff. Yes.
Can you tell I eat this stuff for breakfast? This stuff lights me up.
Right.
We teach this course live once a year, in December every year, and we bring people in. We workshop it together. It's like, okay, I'm going to teach you this little 10-minute thing, and then I'm going to give you 15 minutes to just work on it while we're here. Mm-hmm. Julianne says, I need more discipline to avoid the bright shine. Yes. So here's the thing. It's not about discipline. It's not about discipline. Discipline doesn't work, particularly in the long term, and particularly for entrepreneurs. So I want you to get rid of the idea that you need more discipline. That implies that you're broken in some way. You are not. You don't need more discipline. What you need is more focus. And the beautiful thing about having a plan and having it on a single sheet of paper and looking at it every day is that it creates that focus. It reminds you of the why. It reminds you of the how. And then when you have that daily success checklist, which you spend about 30 seconds a day filling out your daily success checklist and setting that up, when that sits in front of you and you look at it and you go, oh, I have these 3 30-minute tasks that I need to get done today. And when I do those, I can pat myself on the back and decide to quit for the day, right? I did the heavy lifting. And we always tell people, just get those 3 things done first thing in the morning. And that, it just changes absolutely everything. I just saw Elizabeth said, I love the distinction of focus versus discipline. You're not wrong. You're never wrong. You're not broken. You're actually in the top 15% of the population. You're special. And that's a good thing. And when you take that bright, shiny object syndrome and you focus it and you create those priorities and you spend that time doing it, it's just like, look, I just spend this time planning and then all I have to do is focus on the execution. And here's the really cool thing is when you get those 3 things done, if you want to open up your bright, shiny object syndrome and go run with stuff and have fun with things and do cool new stuff, you can, because you've already gotten the important stuff done, right? So you can do both. You can have the concentration and the focus of the plan, and then you can go play, right? And if you want to run with your bright, shiny object syndrome in hobbies, great. Elizabeth said,
what do you do about the ideas that come up in the midst of the other projects?
Yeah, so you write them down on what we call a not now list. And this is a thing that I learned actually from Roy Disney. And it's how he kept Walt Disney focused, because Walt Disney was an idea machine, but he could never get anything done. So whatever's on the plan gets done first, and anything that comes up in between, you put it on a not now list. And when everything on the plan is done, then you can go to the not now list and pull some items off of there that you want to play with. But here's the really funny thing about a not now list is about 90% of the stuff that you write down on there, if you wait a little while, when you come back to it after everything is done, you'll look at it and go, man, that was a really stupid idea. I'm glad I didn't get distracted with that. Most of the stuff on your not now list is garbage. But it seemed like a good idea at the time. And if you could just not act on it, then you'd be in good shape.
Good counsel there for you. All right. Awesome stuff, Laura. Thank you so much for waking up early, and be safe down there and didn't land from down under till you get back here. And thanks for coming on the Peace and Pivot Summit for us.
Thanks. It was super fun. I had a great time today.
Thank you, Laura. It was amazing. Thank you.
Thanks.